A recent article has shown the need for both sociology and political science in all levels of national education. In a rather grandiose way, it was titled, "Is Government All That Powerful?" Question mark. In its first paragraph, it states people are generally misguided as government does not have the power they ascribe to it. More than half, it says, half of the things people expect the government to do, they have no such power. The real power lay in the hands of the 2%, owning 95% of the economy. They have real political power. Now, this headline, this article, does many things, but I want to focus on just a few of them. It puts the cart before the horse. It says that government has no power, and by government in this case it means the state has no power because it does what the 2% want. And I will grant the author of this, the fact that the state does what the 2% want. But the state does what the 2% want, not because it is weak and inept and powerless, but because the 2% understand very well that the state is all-powerful, that tomorrow it could enact legislation to force the banks to, drop their fees. That would impact the bank's profitability. Therefore, they lobby the government, they pressure the state, they finance the parties, bribe, basically, capture, to make sure that it is beholden to them. This person has got it, pardon my crassness, ass backwards. He goes on to, or she goes on to speak about the experiment of Jamaica in the 70s when capitalists ran away and sabotaged the economy in cahoots with the US when a little democratic socialism was trying to be implemented. That again highlights the powerfulness of the state. The state was deemed such a threat to capital, they were worried that their capital would be taken away, that they left. They could not cajole or coerce the state. So they left. They go on to say, where are our socialist countries today? They use the example of Cuba, suffering compounded by blockades and sanctions from USA. At least it has the honesty to acknowledge the suffering is made by the blockade and sanctions from the USA. What do you mean compounded? Where's the compounded in this? If you are unable to do any foreign trade, your country is going to suffer. This is not compounding anything. This is just making life bad. That is a stupid argument. They say socialist in name only. China, it is capitalist in practice. Really? Really? That I find hilarious and interesting. I don't know which Jamaica this person's living in, but in the Jamaica I live in, it is Chinese state companies who are, emphasis on state companies, who are operating in the country at a rapid pace. It is Czech, the China Harbor Engineering Company, a Chinese state-backed company that is expanding the highways and throwing up the 3 miles causeway. This is not socialism in name only. The state in China still controls the, wait for it, commanding heights of the economy. They then go on to list Venezuela, pure suffering fueled by sanctions and blockade. What do you mean, fueled by sanctions and blockade? Again, what kind of argument is this? If you have to sit through, what is it, almost 20 years of non-stop sanctions, embargoes, almost 30 years of somebody trying to overthrow your government, do you not think that your economy would suffer even a little bit? Do we not find it strange that up until 2009, 2013, the Venezuelan economy was booming, and now it collapsed just around the same time that the sanctions were ratcheted up. This person would have us think it is fueling as opposed to being the root cause. This person is silly. This person is such a die-hard believer in capitalism that they have forgotten capitalism 101, just the basics of capitalism. The state is powerful. The state can take your stuff. Therefore, you need to either be on the state's good side or, better yet, control the state. Every successful capitalist understands that. Persons at ExxonMobil understand that. That's why they're operating the way they do in Guyana. Grace Kennedy understands that. That's why they operate the way they do here. They even had a government senator at one point. They understand. They understand who controls the blade and who controls the handle. It is the state that controls the handle, and therefore it is best to be the one who is paying the state. They will pay the state.